You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Hello, everyone out there in Tampa Bay and beyond. This is James Knowles coming at you for the RBLR Sports podcast, and I'm here tonight covering the Rowdies. That is what I usually do, alongside Carlos, who is here with me tonight on a Monday. Carlos, how are you doing tonight? The day before we would usually go in any given week.
James, I'm doing well. I'd be better if something went a little different this weekend.
I wonder what that could mean.
Yeah. You know what? The Bucks won their opening game yesterday. I went to the game. It was a good time, good crowd. USF had a big game against Bama, and they hung in there. Ecuador played a really boring game against Brazil and lost 1-0. Surely they won't disappoint us tomorrow against Peru, but we will see. James, I got something here for you. Check this out. Hold on. James, you know what this is?
I believe that is a globe. I just don't know the year.
This is a globe. Somewhere on here, there's a little city called Colorado Springs, somewhere around there, right? That's where the Rowdies played this weekend. Take a look at this entire globe, James. No matter how long you look for it, you will not find the Rowdies defense from this past weekend.
Oof.
Where were they to be found, James? Where were they?
Got them. Everyone who is not watching on YouTube, by the way, you just missed out on a very good visual gag.
Oh, yeah. You missed out. That was a good bit, James, right?
I like that.
Yeah. Audio listeners, there was a globe, and I made a funny joke, and you missed out by not watching the live stream. That being said, James, that's how I felt about this past game against Colorado Springs Switchbacks FC, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. But, James, before we do any of that, before we talk about where in the world our back line was, how's it going in your neck of the woods?
It's going all right. The U.S. also lost this past weekend, the senior men's team, but I wasn't too worried about it because this is an experimental squad. We don't have a full coach yet. And I mean, it's obviously not good to lose, but there are worse losses out there than this one. Like one that you and I might be talking about shortly. I guess that's probably a bad segue because it's all very negative stuff, but we might as well just get into it here. This past weekend, the Rowdies were beaten pretty handily, 4-2 away to Colorado Springs Switchbacks, the place noted on Carlos's globe just a few seconds ago. In our own standings, no one got any points because we all predicted better results than this. So it stayed the way it was. Carlos leads with 13, Eureka has 11, and I believe I have 9 on my own here. The Rowdies have made some loan moves to follow up Ryan Spalding. Ben Bender has joined the club on loan from Charlotte in MLS. We're going to hit on him a little bit later.
Great name.
But there is a good little graphic there. We're going to talk about him a little more as we get to the end of this podcast, but we need to do a lot of stuff because we have 2 games to preview tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Before I do that, though, I would like to say, please come join us at RBLR's next watch party. It will be Saturday, September 21st, and it starts at 6:45 for a game that itself starts at 7:30. Naturally, as we do all these ones, we will be going back to Berry House Beer Company off the Ybor Strip. So please come join us there. It is a great brewery, legitimately has award-winning beers. We say that every time because it is true. These are not awards pulled off of a Cracker Jack box on the internet. These are international beer competitions that they have won. So please come take part and taste some of those beers. There will be a halftime swag giveaway and specials on pictures of that award-winning beer. Plus, you get to see our actual faces actually in person. That's pretty cool, right? You don't even have to see our visual bits via the interface of YouTube or Instagram or wherever you are. But please come join us. And if you are liking this show, whether you're listening to it, watching it, or whatever, please subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you're using. And of course, please interact with us further on social media at RBLR Sports, whether that be Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, wherever. Please come join us. We enjoy the interaction. Carlos, let's get into the quick recap here, and we'll start with the lineup.
James, no surprise in goal. Jordan Farr was back there with Eddie Manjoma. Jordan Doherty making his return after a brief little injury back in the back line. Blake Bodley, second game in the row, I believe, right? Blake Bodley back there on the back line. Who would have thought we'd see him get a couple games as a defender?
Yeah.
He's got that wing back role naturally to him, but an outright defender, not what I expected to see Bodley doing at this point in the year. Obviously, a bit of injuries. Guillen was back on the bench, though, so that's good to see. Kleeman was on the bench as well. So we got some defenders in there. But nonetheless, Nielsen went with Bodily on that back line and kept Manjoma back there, where he's done a pretty good job this year, though he had his moments, certainly, this game. Pacific Nyangabire was in that wing back spot. No surprise there. Spalding had a bit of a quieter game for him than we're used to seeing in the attack. In that left wing back spot, Louis Hilton, Crisostomo made that dynamic duo in the middle with Manu Arteaga and Kyle Jennings up top, supported by Joshua Perez, making his return to the starting lineup after coming off the bench recently. Kyle Jennings missed a close one in the first half, and that's about as good as it got for the Rowdies in that first half. After that, James, we talked about this before the podcast. This was something I had to go back and watch. I was watching the USF Bama game that night. Can't say I'm too pressed that I didn't watch this one. That first half was not a fun watch. Switchbacks took a 2-0 lead, very comfortable 2-0 lead going into the half. A couple pretty well worked goals on their part. Hunt got the first goal and McGee got the second. Pretty easy for them. Surprised that one of those goals didn't go down as an own goal. I can't remember if it was the first or the second one that took a deflection off the Rowdies defender there, making it very difficult for Jordan Farr to get back to. Nonetheless, easy enough for Colorado to go up 2-0, controlling this one. They doubled up that lead very quickly after halftime, James. Very quickly. In the 47th minute, Dylan, and in the 53rd minute, Hanya again. 4-0 to Colorado Springs in the 53rd minute. That's game over. Very rarely you can have a team come back from 4-0 unless you're Birmingham Legion in the Open Cup. Very, very impossible. I don't like it. The game was over. We're playing in the altitude. Certainly wouldn't blame anyone if they tuned out of this one and turned over to the USF game at 4-0. That being said, Leo Fernandes got a goal. It's good to see him back, kind of getting in form. Obviously, he wasn't happy about this one. He got his goal. I love this guy, man. He's immediately jogged back to try and, get the team back into it. And it worked somewhat. Damian Rivera got another goal 5 minutes later, but the Rowdies win somewhat of striking distance with 10 minutes to go. We've seen 2 goal comebacks in the last 10 minutes of games. Shout out Lucky M. Kosana against Louisville a few years ago. But a 4-goal comeback, not that I've ever seen as a Rowdies fan.
Yeah.
This was a tough one, James. Game ends 4-2 to Colorado Springs Switchbacks. A decent side. That certainly had its mixed bag of results recently. Certainly not a team that I've expected to dominate us the way they did. Maybe I could have expected them to score a bit more goals than I initially predicted. They scored 3 goals against Memphis recently at home. They scored 4 against Tulsa away in the game before us. So maybe I underestimated their attack. By the numbers, they're the 5th best team in the league in goals per match. So underestimated them slightly. I don't apologize for it. I do think we should have won this game. With all due respect to my boy Aiden Rocha on Colorado Springs, a good team, certainly a team we should have beat, James. Frustrating one, and to lose in such a dominating fashion, highly frustrating. We could have come back, but we didn't. Standings update, James, before we jump into breaking this one down. No surprise, Louisville City is still up top in first place after a bit of a tight one against Loudoun United. They won 1-0 last Friday at home. Charleston Batteries behind them with 56 points. Sorry, Louisville has 59 points. Forgot to mention that. And we are in third place, 13 points behind Charleston, James. 13 points behind Charleston. We have 2 games in hand, though. Best case scenario, we're behind 8 points with 6 games to go. We would still need a bit of a collapse from Charleston in the last 6 games of the year on their part to make up ground on them.
Yeah.
Louisville would have to have a historic collapse, throw first place out the window if anybody was still holding on to hope. Good for you. But as the optimist on this podcast, I think, James, I think I'm ready to throw in the towel on that one.
Yeah.
I think what we're looking at this year is holding off Detroit, who's in 4th place, just 4 points behind us. They played one more game, and Indy 11, who is sitting on 37.6 games behind us. 26 game played just like us. Rhode Island making a bit of a climb up, 37 points from 27 games as well. So some interesting movement in the East. Certainly going to be something to watch kind of in the middle to lower part of the playoff race. There's some races to watch there with Pittsburgh catching up, Birmingham in the mix still, and Loudoun United, humble Loudoun United, somehow still in the mix for a playoff spot if they get a few good results here.
Good for them.
Even North Carolina is 1 point behind them. So, top of the table seems to be pretty defined, James, but keep an eye on that middle to bottom part of the playoff race. Some interesting teams could make a run in there to get in. Not that they'll beat Louisville or anything in the first round, but hey, they'll make the playoffs. Out west, New Mexico United leads 51 points. They're ahead of Sacramento by 10 points, who has 41 points. Colorado Springs with this win, huge win for them, huge win, ties them up with Sacramento on 41 points, despite having played 2 more games. Oakland still making a quiet run up to the top, 40 points from 27 games. Memphis, again, another team that's having a pretty good year quietly, 39 points from 27 games. And Las Vegas, another one that I didn't think would do anything this year, James, sitting in prime playoff spot, 6th place, 38 points. Phoenix right behind them, and Tulsa sneaking in somehow after their somewhat miserable year. They're hanging in there onto a playoff spot in 8th place. Okay, James, sorry for rambling here about the standings. There's just some interesting stuff to keep an eye on in these last few games of the year. Again, keep an eye on the middle to bottom portion of both of these playoff races. Some interesting teams could sneak in here. By the way, San Antonio, really down year for them. Forgot to mention them. They're not doing great, down in 10th place. Okay. Lots of storylines there that we can talk about towards the end of the year when we do our big little recap. More importantly, James, let's talk about this one in Colorado Springs. Up in the 6,000 feet. Is that right? 6,000 feet?
I think so, yeah.
Colorado Springs. Home of the Air Force Academy. Home of flying soccer balls. When the air is thin, the ball travels way quicker. And that was clear on a couple of these shots, James. Colorado Springs felt like they took advantage of that. Jordan Farr seemed to be maybe a little surprised by the pace of some of these shots. Led to a couple of great opportunities for them, and certainly one long-range goal for them. I think it was a second goal. James,
yeah.
Tell me how you saw this first half breakdown. Let's start there. Oh, didn't even mention the Robbie Nielsen thing, by the way. I have no clue what happened there. Don't ask me what happened. I'm going to rely on you here. That first half, James, how did you see this play out? Again, I was watching the USF game. I had to go back and watch this one later on. Didn't look entertaining for a Rowdies fan, to put it lightly.
No, that is absolutely correct. And it's really unfortunate that that's the way that this one went down, because in addition to the entertainment factor and people not wanting to tune in, there's obviously also the importance of every single point that we can get at this part of the season to help us try and get a little higher in the standings each game. And I guess we've obviously done well enough that we have had such a dismal August and a dismal start to September, and we're still 4 points away from the closest team behind us. But at the moment, I don't know how many fans are focusing on that. I think fans are focusing on the terrible form that this team appears to be in. All of the different factors that are going into the terrible form, I guess, were really on display in this game, but it would be hard to point to where the Rowdies individually fell apart. I don't know that the tactical setup was anything horrible. I suppose that we could possibly try to get into that, but I don't know that that's even all that necessary, because in all honesty, it looked to me in this game, the Rowdies held on for a little while, which was surprising because we gave up very good chances, very good shots early on in this game, probably 3 or 4 in the first 15 minutes, where Jordan Farr actually did have some really good saves. So gotta give it to him for that. That did not hold up over the course of the whole game, sadly. And I don't know, it was just players were losing their individual battles against Colorado Springs players. There were a lot of instances that I thought players were making kind of weird decisions, and they lost their marks. We had already gone 1-0 down when Cal Jennings got what you described as probably our best chance in that game. Also, it should be noted that the chance that Cal Jennings got immediately followed something that was an extremely dangerous situation for Colorado Springs. I don't remember exactly how it got there, but it was like a looping ball to Jordan Doherty,
Yeah.
who completely miscontrolled it. And I think it was the Colorado Springs player who picked it up after that. And Blake Bodley was there to kind of clean up after Jordan Doherty had misplayed it originally. So Blake Bodley steps in and the ball is loose. And Jordan Doherty's quick reaction in this case is just get rid of it. Just get it out of this
Yeah.
zone. So he kicks it as far as he can. And it happens to, I don't know if he intended for this. I guess we could go back and ask, but I don't know how much point there would be at this point, considering we know the final result. Either way, the clearance from Jordan Doherty goes into the path of Cal Jennings on a long run, and he is able to fend off the person who's right behind him. He can keep the ball in his stride. He gets himself, I think, into the 6-yard box. I don't remember if he was in the 6-yard box or at the tip of the 6-yard box. It doesn't matter because he didn't ultimately challenge the goalkeeper. He put it into the side netting, like outside netting, obviously.
Yeah.
So the whole play right there was a really good summary for me of what I saw from the Rowdies for the majority of the night, at least up until 60, 65 minutes, let's say. That was two ridiculous moments right before the chance that Cal Jennings got. And when Cal Jennings got himself in a position where, Carlos, you and I would expect him to, at the very least, put it on target. That's the minimum, I would say, for a player of Cal Jennings' quality, a player of Cal Jennings' obvious reputation. And he was just completely lacking any confidence to get that shot off and do something good with it. And it goes wide, and the chance goes begging. And then only a couple minutes after that, obviously, Colorado Springs goes back and they make it 2-0. Yeah. We lost our individual battles. The players who had individual marks for the switchbacks, we could not win those looping balls or tackles or any duels there. When we did get into positions that had any type of potential, those broke down due to an obvious lack of communication. You can't tell a lot when it's on the field because you can't hear it, but I think that the lack of communication was something that people who were watching it through their televisions could see, through their computer for me. And I don't know. It was a team that looked like they, as soon as the first goal went in, they were like, well,
GG.
This is going to be another loss. This is going to be another one that we have to write off. And it's surprised. The only thing that was ultimately surprising was actually that it took that long for Colorado Springs to get their first goal because they had so many chances beforehand. And of course, the real cherry topping on this Sunday was Robbie Nielsen getting sent off at halftime. I didn't see this, just like you, Carlos. I didn't see this. And in the notes from the team afterwards, their email said that he had been sent off after a discussion with the referee at halftime. I'm assuming it was more than a discussion, and I'm assuming that there was something like in between the benches, or maybe going down the tunnel to the locker rooms. I couldn't say. Didn't see it, but
no,
he was obviously not there for the second half.
It was a friendly chat. I think the rest just overreacted. They were just having a,
I also don't know what there would be to complain about with the refereeing here. I think that the referee made some bad decisions that I could have pointed to, but by the time that those even happened, it was so far gone that there was absolutely no reason to think about anything the referee had done in this game.
How weird, right? That's a weird one because it's like, what could have happened? I mean, it's not even like you can expect some things from like players to like into a scrap or something. I don't know. And like on the way down to the tunnel on the locker
You're frustrated.
room.
I get that.
Yeah, you run into a Colorado Springs player who's talking a smack, like, oh, you're trash, buddy, whatever. And the Rowdies players being professional soccer players, and they want to. Their pride, right? You can see something like that happening, right? But a coach, like, I don't really know what would happen there. Do you think the other coach is talking smack and he's just like, all right, we're going to let it loose? And Robbie Nielsen, by the way, the most like kind of like good leader by all accounts, but like very timid kind of guy, right? Like, kind of quiet on the quieter side. He talks like that.
It's hard to hear him even in press conferences.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what he might have said. If you tell me Neil Collins is in there and he's down 2-0, yeah, sure, I'll believe you. He gets sent off or whatever. But Robin Nielsen getting sent off down 2-0, not really much you can complain to about the refs. I'm curious what would have happened down there, but unimportant, really, which is weird. The first half sucked, James. There was no like Eddie Manjoma's had a pretty good year, like pretty decent year. Nothing like off the charts, nothing crazy. Maybe that first game, like when he came in, he was like, is this gonna be the guy? But he settled in nicely. He got cooked this first half.
It was awful. Yeah.
He was getting worked. Like 5 minutes into the game, I couldn't tell you who it is, but Colorado's left winger, whoever it was, cut in just nothing crazy, just a little cut. Eddie Manjoma flying by. That
goes exactly to the thing where players are losing their individual battles, and anytime they have a chance to actually put in a tackle, anytime they have a chance to win a duel, we lost it. And the reason that I say that our communication was obviously not working tonight was because there was so much space in between the lines for players like both of the Colorado Springs wingers, Fjellberg on the left and Hanya on the right, to absolutely make us look terrible. And they combined for the first goal.
Yeah. Justin Dillon, by the way, right after that first chance that kind of whoever the winger was, Justin Dillon comes in on a decent enough cross, but he's sandwiched between Manjoma and Doherty. And somehow he gets onto the ball as if there was nobody there and puts on a really good header. Doherty's slow to react. Again, Doherty's not a player that you expect to have like a, out. It was obvious he had a bad game, like Jordan Doherty as well, specifically. The whole back line. Like, I could point to several moments where individually, Blake Bodley, Jordan Doherty, Eddie Manjoma individually had poor games. Like, you can point to individual moments where you see like mistakes, one-on-one mistakes, like you were saying. Blake Bodley had the own goal, but like, man, I don't know. Like, maybe he could have done a little bit better there, and like instead of kind of just throwing his body in the way and seeing what happens. But Jordan Doherty was slow to the Justin Dillon header that could have easily put them up 1-0 6 minutes into the game. Manjoma was a little slow to that too, but it's not really his guy on that play. Who else? Blake Bodley scores that wacky own goal. Jordan Doherty, in an attempt to clear it, turns the ball right over to Colorado Springs. Luckily, he gets the ball back and feeds that wonder pass to Cal Jennings, though, which was nice to see. But like you said, didn't amount to anything at the end of the day. So, yeah, I mean, that's the frustrating part about that first half, James, is like, the way that kind of set it up when I was doing the quick recap, right? The way I set it up made it sound like we had our big chance and then Colorado Springs took over. But like, that's not what happened. You look at the game, it's Colorado Springs had control from quite literally minute one. Jordan Farr had to step up and be huge in minute one. Again, he didn't have the best of games either. Obviously, when you concede 4 goals, it's kind of hard to say the goalie had a great game, even if it's not all his fault, obviously. But he had a good, first minute or so to keep us into it. But that's kind of indicative of how well Colorado Springs stepped into this game. Remember I said last week, sometimes we play against some of these teams that are a little lower in the table and they might kind of sit back, try to absorb some pressure against a team that, like the Rowdies, that seem to be kind of the superior team on paper. That was never going to be the case with Colorado Springs, as I said, and certainly wasn't. Like, they didn't even play like they came out like knowing that the Rowdies would be the worst team in this game. It's like, it looks like how we try to come out against a Loudoun United at home or something, like we looked like a Loudoun United or like Atlanta United too when they were still in the league.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of how we would come out and play against those teams at home, or at least try to play against those teams at home.
Yeah.
That's how Colorado Springs looked like. Like, they were on fire. They came out trying to establish themselves early, and they did. The Tyreek McGee goal right before halftime was insane. Just a ripper. Jordan Farr starts kind of diving to his left a little preemptively. Doesn't take a deflection or anything by like what I'm looking at, but he kind of just steps to his left. I think maybe thinking that's where it's going. Like rockets right into the middle of the net, top middle. Lovely goal. I think he was just kind of caught off guard by the pace of that ball.
Yeah.
And again, when you're at 6,000 feet, by the way, 6,000 feet of altitude, like the balls travel a lot quicker. I don't know if anybody like has ever played soccer at that altitude. Like it's certainly the case when teams play in Quito and Ecuador, and I've seen it firsthand. Like the ball moves quicker because it's thinner air up there. Obviously, it's not 10,000 feet like in Ecuador, but 6,000 feet adds a bit of a difference to it. These folks obviously know how to play at home, so I think they're going to take advantage of that. And I think that's why you saw them rip a lot of long shots, by the way, in this game. I think they knew someone like Jordan Farr, who plays in, zero altitude St. Pete, Florida, is not going to be as accustomed to the pace on these shots. So you saw a lot of those. I'm not saying like that's specifically why they're ripping those shots. Certainly it looks like they have some talent to do that anyway, like regardless of whether they're playing Colorado Springs or in St. Pete. Nonetheless, I think that's a little bit of a factor too to throw in here. Not that it's like an excuse for letting up 4 goals for anybody, but still, just I think it was interesting to see how many long distance to mid distance shots they were taking. And that was the end of the first half, James. Just domination from Colorado Springs from start to finish. We had that one chance, like we said, but that was it. Nothing else to it. Cal Jennings kind of had another chance towards the end of the half. It's like a half chance. Nothing really there. That's first half. And then Robbie Nielsen got sent off. So, okay. Down 2-0. Coming out in the second half, we're like, well, okay, we're down 2-0. Attitude's not looking great. But the half came at a good time, right? Half came at a good time. We just need a break, need to reset. We're going to come out here. We're going to take this break and change the game plan a little bit, play our game, and go out there and take over when we come out of the locker room, right? Wrong. No, James, that's not what happened at all. Why did you think that? Is that what you thought was going to happen? No. What the hell are you thinking, James? No, they came out and scored 2 more goals. It was 4-0 by the end by like 15 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
Again, I was watching the USF game for I think I still had it on at this time. I got notifications that we're down 4-0 from FOTMob. You think I'm tuning into this game when we're down 4-0? And USF's playing Alabama close? Hell no. What the hell are we doing here? Going back and watching this, James, I don't even know what to tell you about this half. This half just was weird. It was weird. I mean, going down 3-0, 2 minutes into the half, another Justin Dillon goal. Wide open, by the way. Again, what did I say earlier? In the first half, 5 minutes into the game, he had a wide open look between 2 Rowdies players. In this case, it was Eddie Manjoma and who is this? Crisostomo. What the hell? This is my point. I don't know what the positioning is in this one. Like you look at the goals and it's kind of all over the place. Doherty is drifting way out. Bodley is on the wing essentially on this chance. The midfield is nowhere to be found. And by the time Bodley tracks back, Bodley and Doherty are way out on the left side of the box. And out of the back line, it's just Eddie Manjoma in the middle. It's literally just Eddie Manjoma in the middle of the box against 2 Colorado Springs players. Justin Dillon. Oh, sorry, not Justin Dillon. Justin Dillon. That's his name. Justin Dillon and some other bum winger on the left wing. 2-on-1. If it landed on either of one, it would have been an easy goal for them. Danny Crisostomo knows that there's nobody back there, tracks back, does a decent enough job of getting back. By the time he gets there, it's too late. Justin Dillon is sandwiched in between Eddie Manjoma and Danny Crisostomo and puts in a header that has really no pace on it, by the way. And I know I'm saying this as someone that watched the game back and sees the ball from the broadcast and it's like, oh, well, that looks slow. I could save that. I'm not saying I could save that, James. I'm unathletic as hell. I'm 5'9", and my 40 time is terrible. I'm not getting to that ball. Absolutely not. Jordan Farr, on the other hand, is what? 6 foot? How tall is he?
I think so, yeah.
6 foot. He gets paid to play professional soccer, right? This is what they do. This is what they practice. I'm if I'm a Rowdies fan, which I am. If I am a Rowdies fan and I'm looking at this game, I'm maybe I want a little bit more from Jordan Farr in that one too. That ball's not moving too fast. He reacted really late. It kind of looked like one of those memes. Have you seen where the ball's kind of rolling in slowly and they dive really late after it? That's kind of what it looked like. He could have done a little more there. And I hate criticizing goalies because Like, it's really easy to do, and they have the hardest job on the field, and it looks a lot easier to save than it really is. But this is one where I'll give them a bit of, give them a bit of a spotlight here. We needed a little more there. Not that it would have mattered because we played terribly the rest of the half anyway until the last few minutes.
Right.
But in a closer game, I mean, I just want a little more from there. Okay, James. So now we're down 3-0. What comes next? What do you think happens next?
Sadly, I am aware of what happens next, and it did not help us out in getting back into this game
Tell us about
because,
that. What happened?
yeah,
Because I in my head, I'm thinking we're down 3-0. We're gonna play with a little bit of fire. We're gonna kind of like show some spunk on the field and come back and like do a little something, right? What happened? Tell me what happened.
we and did the opposite, I would say, Carlos, and we completely folded as a team. I think that with Robbie Nielsen going off, yeah, you might have expected the team would take a different reaction to that, and they would
No
come out with a
fire.
little bit of fire, some
Yeah.
fire. And no, the fourth goal came it's 6 minutes after the third goal. Is that correct?
The fourth goal came in the 53rd minute, 6 minutes after the 47th minute goal. That's how math works. Yeah. 6 minutes later, we're down 4-0 in the game. If it wasn't over at 3-0, you're changing the channel at 4-0. I'm not sure why you're sticking around and watching on TV. By the way, Eddie Manjoma, man. Are you kidding me? On that fourth goal? You know what I'm talking about here, James? Do you remember seeing this play out? So
Yes.
whoever who's this guy? 7 for Colorado Springs. I'm not gonna go back and look at the lineup. I don't really care about. I don't care that much about. Oh my god, wait, unless it's Aiden Rocha. I'm sorry, Aiden. Did I say I don't care about you?
Not 7.
Okay, thank God. Love you, Aiden. Number 7 for Colorado Springs. Takes the ball off Cal Jennings, who just kind of gave up after that. He literally like puts his hands on his knees, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
You could like see him like the body language, like say, oh my god. Basically,
It's the body language.
Yeah, you could see him get like just give up after he loses that ball and says, okay. 7's dribbling up, throws in a pass to whoever is in the middle there for Colorado Springs. Looks like Pacific Neon Gabira closes down a little bit. Eddie Manjoma steps up and takes a ball that was being fed into their left wing. Eddie Manjoma he's in the box, has full possession of the ball. The nearest Colorado Springs player is like a good 8 feet, 10 feet away from him. He just kicks it. He just kind of like, and not even hard, like not even like a clearance, right? He just like taps it generally towards the outside of the field, towards like the out to the wing area. But the problem with that, James, when Colorado Springs, when your opponent is attacking, right? Usually they're gonna have a guy over there, right? Like there's someone over there, and I don't know if he didn't see him or if he didn't care, but he passed it right to whoever Colorado Springs' number 8 is. I'm looking back at the highlights right now, so I don't have like the names on me. Colorado Springs number 8, literally. I'm not lying when I say this. I'm not exaggerating. Like I'm looking back at the highlights right now, and you can look back again too. I'm looking at the 4th minute of the Colorado Springs Switchbacks FC versus Tampa Bay Rowdies 9-7-24 USL on YouTube. Right, I'm looking at this right now. Ball comes in. Okay, Eddie Manjoma steps into it, gets the ball. Actually, first touch, just taps it out. Whoever this kid is, number 8, does not move, stands there. He stands there because the ball came to him. Jonas Fjellberg. That's right. Jonas Fjellberg is standing there, does the thing. It's like he's warming up for a game, just like steps on the ball with his right foot, and then just casual. It's the casualest like whip into the box you'll ever seen. Boop, steps into it like it's warm-ups. It's insane. Nobody was around him. It looked like he was surprised to get the ball.
Yeah, right.
Whips in the ball, a great ball, by the way, but a warm-up ball. Like it looks like warm-ups. And Yosuke Hanya gets maybe his 3rd goal of the night if you count that own goal from earlier. Maybe a hat trick, according to FOTMob, like kind of, but whatever. Doesn't matter. 4-0 Colorado Springs. 53 minutes into the game, James. That's like what? 1 goal every like 12 minutes ish for Colorado Springs?
Something like that.
13 minutes? I'm bad at
math.
I got like a C in pre-calc in high school. We won't talk about that. Shout out Miss Martin. That's all I want. I just wanted to rant about that for a minute, Jim. I'm sorry for taking a minute on this 4th goal. But like Eddie Manjoma is not a bad soccer player, but this was bad. Like he's just like you could tell we had given up because he's not usually doing that. He's not just giving the ball away like that so carelessly. I kind of beat him pre-calc, by the way. I kind of exaggerated. It wasn't that bad. But Eddie Manjoma, like, just gives him the ball. I've never seen, like, okay, granted, we've only had him for, like, this season. It's not, like, never, ever. Like, he hasn't made a mistake that obvious to me this year. This was certainly his worst game of the year.
Yeah.
And that sucks. That being said, overall, like, recap that second half for me, James. Honestly, I don't really care about our 2 goals. I love that Leo Fernandes scored, really. I mean, it's really good to see him coming back and, like, being a great option off the bench. Still kind of coming back from injury. But damn, like, no fire until we make those subs, like that line change. Really, the first 60 minutes or so, just nothing, like really nothing. And if we're not playing for second or first place anymore, which we're really not, at least go out there and show some pride, like play with a little bit of fire. We have a game on Wednesday away in Birmingham, a game at home on Saturday against Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to pay to go to this game, right? Make it fun to watch. Go out and win. Like, even if we're not playing for first or second place anymore, we're still holding off for third place. So obviously we need the points. But at least if nothing else, if these were all just 9 or 8 exhibition games left, people want to be entertained. They want to see their team, show some heart. And I think that's kind of what we need these last few games. Just a little bit of fire, a little bit of momentum going into the playoffs because we're not catching up to first or second place. So these games are really discouraging because I don't want that to be the mentality 8 games from now when the playoffs start and we get first rounded by a team that's worse than us at home, Like, we lost to Detroit just a few weeks ago. That would have been the team we played in the first round of the playoffs that week. And we got dominated by them, So if this is the mentality, like, we're in a bad spot. Luckily, there's 8 games left, so there's time to change that mentality, get some guys from coming back from injury. But that's looking a little bit too far ahead in the future, James. That's my summary. I don't even want to say anything else about this game, really. If you want to talk about the Rowdies' 2 goals, feel free. I mean, we've spent a little bit too long, I think, on this game. But, like, I think it deserved a bit of a rant, to be honest.
I think a rant is definitely warranted here, and I will not begrudge you a rant. There's probably not too much worth talking about with the Rowdies' goals. As you said, Colorado Springs has, by this point in the game, taken their foot off the gas. It's 4-0. How frequently do you see a comeback from 4-0? I guess at least once this season, right? But yeah, it's just, it was, this is what I will say. I hope that this is our low point this season, because obviously we just had 2 losses at home before playing Miami and only beating them 2-0 in a cagier game than 2-0 even sounds, by the way. So we have the 2-week break in between that game and this game, which all of us assume the Rowdies are going to use to get their heads on straight, whatever those platitudes and whatever those usual sayings are that athletes are like, we need to look ourselves in the mirror. I'm sure that fans would all agree with that. So I'm assuming that they did that, but obviously they have not put themselves in the position where they're actually in a different headspace over the course of these past 2 weeks. They are still in the same headspace, and their shoulders dropped immediately. Colorado Springs came out like they knew that there was a team that was ready to be beaten, and so we were. And it's unfortunate that as soon as they did score, it looked at that point like we had almost given up. Obviously, it was very shortly after that we truly did. So I will just probably move us on to the man of the match, Carlos, if that's good with you. It's obviously going to be the case that it is not going to be anybody who started this game. It is probably going to be substitutions. And Carlos, you and I have both selected one. I went with Leo Fernandes because he got a goal and an assist in this one. And I'm assuming that similar statistics came into play when you were making your decision.
Yeah, I took the easy cop-out answer. I took Damian Rivera as my other guy. He's had a bunch of great performances here, and you can't blame him for conceding 4 goals because he didn't.
He did not.
And he had a pretty good game. Maybe maybe this is a hot take because we've seen him do so well off the bench, but maybe playing his way into a starting spot again. He's had a few starts recently. You want some energy, this is a kid to start. So I
You
don't
just
know.
want something different.
Yeah, if you want a little bit of energy, you want a little something, little pep in your step. This is certainly the kid to bring in. By the way, I don't want this to go overlooked either. I think Ben Bender had a pretty good debut. By the way, he had
That's a good point. That's a good point.
something
Yeah.
to highlight. He had a pretty good debut. Looked very promising. I wouldn't mind if he gets a start next game again
Yep.
either. If we're just kind of like switching things up, he definitely earned, I think, a look for a start in the midfield. Kid looks good, man. Like he's physical, like he's very imposing as a central midfielder, which is kind of nice. You can get up there, kind of create some chances, and he did create some chances. Created one really good chance, and I'm trying to remember which one it was, but I know for a fact he had one involvement in a really dangerous opportunity for us later on. Yeah, kid looks good, by the way. Keep him on this team for the rest of the year, but maybe get him more involved while we have him on loan for a short period of time. Take advantage. Throw some energy in here. Juan Tejada, I forgot he got some minutes, by the way, later on in this one. Shout out him. Hope he's doing well with his family out in Colorado Springs. Okay, James, love Juan Tejada. Hope he's doing well again. But I think we can move on. I think we talked about this one a lot.
Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't realize what minute we're on here. We can kind of run through these previews. By the way, more fun stuff other than the pessimistic stuff we've just been doing. James, September 21st, that is not this weekend, but it's next weekend. Today's September 9th. We're talking about September 21st. Your favorite podcast is hosting a Rowdies watch party again in Berry House in Ybor. Award-winning beer pitcher specials, live pregame show at 6:45. Good Lord. 6:45 p.m. live pregame show and halftime swag giveaway. Get there with some gear from your favorite podcast, RBLR Sports, and maybe some Rowdies contributions as well. You get some free stuff and enjoy the beer at Berry House. Enjoy the company of the Rowdies family, and maybe see the beginning of a historic comeback, making up ground on Charleston Battery. We'll see. It'll be a fun one. September 21st at Berry House. If nothing else, come enjoy the company of your Rowdies family. Again, hopefully we see the beginning of a bit of a crazy comeback against Charleston at this point in the year. James, it'll be a good time. Everybody should be there.
I like your wish casting that we're going to get this going on the comeback road to second place in the Eastern Conference.
Man, why not? It's crazier things have happened in the USL. Like 4-goal comeback for Birmingham Legion against the Rowdies in St. Pete. So we'll see. It could happen, James. More importantly, beer pitcher specials, and you and I like beer, and so do Rowdies fans. So be there, and we'll have a good time.
There we go. All right. Well, we will leave it there for the watch party for the time being. Don't worry. We're going to remind you about it several more times.
Oh, we will.
We do need to preview the games that are coming up this week. So on Wednesday at 8 p.m., the Rowdies will play Birmingham Legion at Protective Stadium in Alabama. Obviously, not here, which is unfortunate because that is too far a drive to make on a weeknight. Legion are 8th in the East with 35 points from 26 games played, and they are barely hanging on to a playoff spot at the moment.
Game for them.
Yeah, it will be. So keep that in mind. They have also lost their last 3 games. We didn't lose our last 3 because of the Miami win, but I kind of view it as us having lost our last 3. So that's how I guess I wrote it. And I have some. I must have something latent in the back of my mind there. They have been shut out as well in each of those last 3 losses. So I guess that actually is worse for Legion. Good enough that we scored 2 in the last game. When we look at the lineup, we should see Matt Van Okel in net. He will be behind Moses Mensah at left back, Fanuel Kavita, Alex Cornale as the 2 center backs, and on loan from MLS, Derek Dodson, someone who has tormented the Rowdies in the past. All good signs there.
Georgetown legend.
Yeah, they will more than likely be sitting behind Kobe Hernandez Foster, Rita Zuhir, and Enzo Martinez in the midfield. If you do not know the name Enzo Martinez, it is likely that you have just become an RBLR Rowdies follower, because he is the pest of all pests, and pest is not the word that I would like to use when I describe him.
Friend of the pod.
Yeah, friend of the pod, exactly. They will more than likely be using Dawson McCartney and Stefano Pino or Preston Tabor-Tadaka up top. Prosper Kasim could also be one of those starting attacking players. Stefano Pino leads this team with 6 goals. Enzo Martinez and Tyler Pasher each have 4 goals. Tyler Pasher hasn't played the last few games. I'm assuming that he's injured. I haven't seen anything official from them, but he has not been available. In all honesty, I'm just going to hope he at least misses one more game, which is this Wednesday, because we don't we don't need that right now.
It's a huge loss for them. Yeah.
Yeah. He and Dawson McCartney lead in assists as well. He and McCartney and I believe Kobe Hernandez Foster are the main creators for this team. They do the chance creation, obviously. So shutting Hernandez field will be important for us. Whether or not we have the capability to do so at the moment is up in the air. Obviously, our pressing game is probably going to be just as confident as any other aspect of our game. And so I just can't say that I am all that confident in our ability right now. And I say our as in the team. I am not obviously contributing to that, but I do wish that the players have some sort of ability to change their mentality between yesterday, Sunday, and Wednesday, when they will get this game actually going. It's going to be very interesting to see how that goes, because Birmingham Legion are also in a sore spot at the moment, and I just don't know. I don't know which spot is sorer between these two teams. It's very weird, and I'm not describing that well, apparently. But as it stands, it will be a meeting of the 2 worst form teams in the league. That's the best way to put this. And I wrote shrug. Predictions, Carlos. I guess we might as well get into it. What is your prediction for this one?
By the way, I know most people, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably know who Enzo Fernandez is. Enzo Martinez. Sorry, not Enzo Fernandez. I hope we're not playing him. This guy's been terrorizing this team for so long. Look at this. Look at this face. I mean, I've seen this guy in my nightmares, I swear. Whatever. We're gonna win 2-0 though. All that being said, it's gonna be pretty casual. It's me dominating. No, I'm joking. It'll be a tight one. Birmingham Legion has a lot to play for, like we said. They're in 8th place. They're barely hanging on, despite kind of a pretty bad run of form. It's a huge game for them, and they're going to come out with fire. Certainly not a team that'll sit back. Again, definitely not a team that'll do that. They need to impose themselves. They need a good result in this one.
And they love playing us.
And they love playing the Rowdies in Protective. What is it? Protective Stadium, home of the UAB Blazers, by the way. Cool little stadium for college football. Not for Birmingham Legion attendance.
Cavernous.
Yeah, cavernous. That being said, hope they can get a good stadium going soon. Derek Dodson is insane as a player, by the way. I keep an eye on him. He's actually disgusting. Like, he was nasty at Georgetown, continued that into his professional career. Didn't know he actually is currently on contract for Minnesota United. He's technically on loan to Birmingham. I had no clue. Really funny to me that he transitioned really effectively to a right back. He was a striker in college, if anybody cares about college soccer. He was very good at it. One of the best in the entire country when he made that championship run with Georgetown to the first natty for the soccer team, by the way.
There you go.
Only the 3rd national championship for Georgetown in all of sports. This guy's good, and he's a really good right back and an insane forward. I don't know how he made that transition so easily. So this team's full of talent, James. Tyler Pasher is a big loss for them, so I think that'll contribute as well. That's probably part of the reason they're struggling in the last few games, not creating any opportunities. Maybe Enzo Martinez is a pest, but I think we'll be all right. We'll win 2-0 because we have to. I don't know. We don't have to. Birmingham has to win, but I think we'll show a little bit of fire in this one. Birmingham is not great right now. They're just not a good team, and despite the talent they have, we should win.
Yeah,
comfortably.
Should is the operative word there, and it is doing a lot of lifting. But Carlos, with your 2-0 prediction, you have joined Eureka in predicting a win. His was a 1-0 scoreline. I am ever the downer and going with a 2-2 draw in this game, which, in my opinion, is more realistic. But realism doesn't matter right now because
You're a
we
hater.
have no idea how to predict how either of these teams is going to go. It should also be noted very quickly that Matthew Corcoran, one of their young up and coming stars, has just returned from a long-term injury. I believe it was an Achilles injury. I don't remember offhand. Either way, he is available now, and we could possibly see him starting as well. So that is all out of the way. Carlos, I will turn it over to you for the next preview for the Saturday game.
Yeah, I think. By the way, this one actually, like, spoiler alert, I'm gonna predict a win for this one too. This one, like we really need to get a W on this one at home against a struggling Pittsburgh Riverhounds team. Saturday night, Al Lang Stadium, 7:30 p.m. You will be there. I will be there. Collective you. James will not be there. He'll be supporting the Tampa Bay Sun. Sorry, no, you won't. You're me in Chicago. Oh, we're gonna miss you, James. Tampa Bay Rowdies, Saturday night, Pittsburgh, not in Pittsburgh, in St. Pete. We're playing the Riverhounds at 7:30, and you should be there. Pittsburgh are in 7th place. They're one spot above Legion, so a little bit better. They're both tied on 35 points, but Pittsburgh has played 2 more games than Birmingham. So, again, big game for Birmingham Wednesday. Certainly, maybe even a bigger one for Pittsburgh on Saturday. They're going to need to come out and get a good result against us. But that being said, their recent form is pretty mixed. Hasn't been particularly great, but not terrible either. They're technically unbeaten in their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. If you look at that, it's a very underwhelming unbeaten streak, by the way. There's a lot of draws. We're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 draws and 4 wins. Oh, wait, no, 5 draws, 5 wins. Yeah. Okay, so not actually a pretty good run of form for Pittsburgh, who started the year really poorly. I think it's this last pretty decent run that's kind of gotten them back into the playoff mix. But yeah, a weird, very quiet 10-game unbeaten streak. So certainly looking to break that in St. Pete. They did beat Birmingham Legion 3-0 on the road. They went to Indy, a very tough team to play against on the road, but we somehow beat them and then dropped points to really bad teams. They went on the road and tied 1-1 to Indy. And then they played Rhode Island FC at home, who's been in pretty good form. They played Pittsburgh hosted Rhode Island and won 2-0 against them. So, pretty good run of form-ish. They love playing a 5-3-2, which can kind of turn into a 3-5-2, as we know with the Rowdies, with Eric Dick in net. Yep, that's his name, Eric Dick. Danny Rovira, Abdul Asumanu, Sean Suber, Patrick Hogan, Luke Biasi, and Junior Etu should be the guys that kind of work into the back line. Junior Etu, by the way, you might remember him, former Rowdy. Etu was just away, by the way, with the Congolese national team. Didn't know that. Thanks for that note, James. That's a pretty fun tidbit there. Good for him. I really liked him when he was on this Rowdy squad. But he's really turned into more of a serious role player for the teams he's played with after us. He was kind of like a kind of fringe, decent midfielder for us. Very, very solid contributor for the teams he's been with since. Jackson Walty, Danny Griffin, Robert Mertz are going to be in the midfield, and they'll sit behind Edward Kizza and new low knee, James, that you'll mention here, Burton Jackson. Tell me if you know anything about him. He comes from Real Salt Lake in MLS. Edward Kizza has 7 goals. Griffin has 4 this year. And then Bradley Sample and Langston Blackstock have 3 assists each. Some decent chance creators in Griffin and Mertz. Again, they're definitely in a down year by Pittsburgh Riverhounds terminology, or Pittsburgh Riverhounds standards. Bob Lilly never really has a team that's kind of like this mediocre. But the thing about Bob Lilly, James, that you and I both know because we've seen him do it year after year, somehow he randomly managed to make a mediocre team very good for a portion of the year.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the playoffs. So you never know. Keep an eye on them. If they sneak into the playoffs, they can cause some damage. Even if they have to go to Louisville in that first game, certainly keep an eye on them. And certainly can cause some problems for us at home, but I don't think that'll be the case. James, what do you think is going to play out in this one with a pretty strong 5-man back line? I think they're going to play pretty defensively is my prediction, despite needing a pretty good result. I think they would be okay settling for a draw if they have to. How do you think this one's going to play out?
I think you're generally right about that. I would definitely point to the way that Bob Lilly pretty much always lines up his teams. They're going to be extremely strong defensively, and they're going to have the ability to keep the Rowdies out. I don't know if it's going to be the whole game, but they are definitely going to try to keep us out of net, and then when they can, break with good counter chances. And that's probably where we're going to see the likes of Robbie Mertz and Danny Griffin with their ability to create and then find players like Edward Kiza and that new loanee you mentioned, Burton Jacqueson. He is one of the revelations of the University of Pittsburgh Panthers men's soccer team. They have had a real kind of revolution in terms of at least college soccer. And he was one of their very best players recently. So he left college a little bit early, signed a Generation Adidas contract. It hasn't quite worked out at the MLS level. So he joins Pittsburgh Riverhounds on loan. I guess he's actually pretty used to the area then. It should also be noted that Jacqueson has played one game for Pittsburgh and he has scored one goal for Pittsburgh. So he will be an important player to keep an eye on because he is very strong as a player. And I think that he has potential in the future as well. It does take however much time to go from a college level to competing at MLS. So if he can do well in the USL along the way, then RSL will be happy. And hopefully this is not one of the games that contributes to that, but
won't be.
He is going to be somebody that we need to keep a very good eye on. He can play in multiple different positions. He has some versatility across the top, but it's really his ability to just pop up in different positions and kind of carry the team on his own. He did that for Pittsburgh, for the University Pittsburgh. So we'll see how he does it for the professional team Pittsburgh now coming up. And Junior Etu should be back with the team. He has actually been playing as the kind of left wing back opposite Danny Rivera as the right wing back. And I don't know. It's going to be, this is another one where they have, as you said, they are on this weird unbeaten run. We are obviously struggling for every single play, every single point that we can get at the moment. So it's going to be difficult, but I feel if we can get a good result versus Birmingham, because there is a rivalry there, even if we don't play as well as we want, I think that they will feel when they go out there like, okay, we have to show up, because otherwise Enzo is going to make us look like a bunch of words that I won't use here. And
that should be enough motivation by itself.
Exactly.
Can't let that guy get one on us. You kidding me?
So if we get the fire back, maybe we'll have a good game in Birmingham. If we have a good game in Birmingham, maybe we'll have some confidence. We show up back home at Al Lang Stadium and we can possibly win this game against the Riverhounds.
You know what the crazy thing is? Who was it we talked to? We talked to someone from Birmingham who said like Enzo Martinez is actually one of the nicest players like on the squad. Just a really good guy.
I think Taylor Hodges said that doing the
all around,
podcast.
All around a really good guy, like nice guy. And I don't care. Like that, I need a villain, and this is my villain. So to me, this is the worst man in history, Enzo Martinez. And I hope we destroy this team 5-0 in Birmingham. Protective Stadium, home of the University of Alabama Birmingham Blazers, and also Birmingham Legion. By the way, UAB football doesn't get much attendance either, so I'm not crapping on Birmingham Legion at all. They actually get pretty good numbers, to be clear. Just big football stadium.
Yeah.
So all right, we win both games anyway. Easy.
What's your score line though?
Oh shoot, I forgot I didn't say that. I actually didn't think about this. I just said we're gonna win. We're also gonna win this one 2-0.
Okay.
Yeah.
2-0.
Yeah.
You and Eureka have chosen a 2-0 scoreline for the game against Pittsburgh. I am being ever the optimist in this one and choosing a 2-1 scoreline. Although I guess that is still more pessimistic than you guys. So
holy crap.
Staying on brand.
Let's go, James. Let's go. That's huge for you. That's huge.
If I can manifest it by putting it out there, maybe that's what I'm hoping for here.
Yeah, look, if James is predicting a W too, then this should be a good day. Or we're all wrong and it's a terrible day, but we'll see when we get there.
That has also happened, but we're not going to
Yeah.
mention that at the moment.
Yeah.
So let's get into our extra time segment now that we've done our predictions for both of these games. First of all, Ben Bender comes in just as we had mentioned. He is formerly of the University of Maryland, another player, actually just like Jack Kaysen that I was talking about. He was doing so well at the college level that he left early, signed a Generation Adidas contract, joined MLS. He went to Charlotte. I believe this is his second year with Charlotte, and unfortunately, he hasn't kicked on into a starting role. I guess that he is playing less this year than he was last year, so they decided it would be best to send him out on loan. In all honesty, I think that we have a pretty good player on our hands. I liked him a lot when I saw him playing for University of Maryland. I think that he has a lot of potential, and if that means that he just needs more playing time, hey, let's give it to him. Let's give him some playing time.
Yeah.
For the love of the Lord, let's give him some playing time because we need it right now.
Yeah.
So that's the Rowdies team news. I do want to also talk about this really quickly. Nick Markanich just hit 25 goals this past season. That is the record for, he ties the record, I should say, for most goals in a single USL season. He tied that with Haji Berry and another player that I'm forgetting. Haji Berry made the move after his 25 goal season to a top flight team in Egypt. And it seems that Nick Markanich will be moving to a new team as well. He will not be moving to a top flight team, and he will not be moving to Egypt. But Sede Castellón of the Spanish Second Division has signed him for a new contract in January. So good for him. Obviously, he is having a historic season. Carlos, you and I haven't talked about this much because we don't want to talk about Charleston and. Unless we have to, which I guess we will next week. But yeah, Nick Markanich is having a literally historic season. If he scores one more goal, the record will be his. And at this point, I think they have at least 6-7 games left. You wouldn't bet against him. So good enough for him, and good luck to him when he gets to Spain. Not right now. Do not care about that right now.
Not at all. By the way, I kind of forgot Ben Bender played at UMD at Maryland. I like thinking back. I don't remember him my sophomore year, but we played against what would have been his last year at UMD, my sophomore year. Good player, but he couldn't beat the number 1 ranked that year, Georgetown Hoyas, a team that had, by the way, Aiden Rocha, Columbus Crew goalie for like second half yesterday or a couple days ago, Sean Zawatsky. What the hell happened? Oh my God. Sean Zawatsky was on that team.
Yep.
LAFC prospect Kenny Nielsen. Stefan Stojanovic, Tulsa forward. Who else is on this team? Current Aberdeen midfielder, Dante Polvara. Chris Hagart, who's in the USL team, which I'm forgetting right now. I said Aiden Rocha. Kieran Sargent. Where's Kieran Sargent? I know he was with Houston Dynamo.
Is he still at Georgetown?
Kieran Sargent left to play pro this year. And I know he was with Houston Dynamo. I don't know where he is now. Joe Buck is still at Georgetown, but he's going pro. Man, that team was good. I just got sidetracked for a second. I was like, holy crap, that Georgetown team was stacked with like pros. Guys are pros. Marlon Tabora is on that team. He's going to go pro next year, almost certainly. Guy's great kid. I've been telling him, get in touch with the Rowdies. And he says, tell their front office. And I'm telling him, guy's good, man.
Kieran Sargent is listed as still being with Houston.
Look at that. Yeah. Ben Bender was kind of outmatched in that one. I'm not going to lie. He had a lot of great talent against him. Giannis Nicopolidis is he's playing in Greece, I think, right? Back in Greece. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Keep an eye on Georgetown. They're always producing fun players that go all around the world. James, last bit here on the extra time segment before I keep ranting about Georgetown soccer, who is going to have a good year again this year. The U.S. men's national team, they lost this weekend, like we said. Ecuador lost, but both play on Tuesday night. Ecuador against Peru tomorrow. If you listen to this live, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If we don't beat Peru at home, I just, oh man, I don't know. Who's the U.S. play, James?
We will be playing New Mexico. The U.S. will be playing New Zealand tomorrow night. Scotland already played their game on Sunday, and that did not go so well. But James, before we move on, San Marino won their first competitive game in like 25 years, by the way, the other day. I felt like that had to be mentioned. I was thinking about the international break. I watched that live, like the last half of that, while I was at work. I just had to pull it up when I saw they scored. That was so hype. I'm sorry. I just have to mention that before we move on. Good for San Marino. They play against Andorra, I think, tomorrow. If they win, they're atop of their Nations League group. That would be over the top.
There's a very like plausible scenario where San Marino can win their next couple games against Andorra, very bad team, obviously. and I think Gibraltar, who barely
Yeah.
beat Liechtenstein. Like, there's a possible scenario where all the other Nations League teams that win their divisions are already in the World Cup, and that means San Marino, as the last non-qualified team, would sneak into the World Cup if they finish in first place. So keep that in mind. I know that's insane and still not possible, probably, because they've only won one game in 30 years. But hey, I just felt like we should put that on everybody's radar. San Marino to the World Cup, book it.
If you do want more info on San Marino, please check out the Sweeper podcast. That is my go-to podcast for all the obscure soccer stuff, and I absolutely adore it. They are diehard San Marino people, so
good for them.
Yeah, definitely check it out there. But I think that actually does it for us tonight. We have talked about the Rowdies. We have talked about the previews. We have talked about Barry House. We have even talked about San Marino. What more could you ask for in just one evening? Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. We appreciate when you do. And please follow RBLR Sports on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, anywhere at RBLR Sports. I'm mostly on Twitter myself. If you would like to get at me, that is at RBLR James K. What about you, Carlos?
At Carlos GPA 10 on Twitter. It's a thrilling time for Tampa Bay sports, James. So many things coming back. The Bucks look good. The Sun are playing. USF looks like they're set to have one of their best seasons since the Quentin Flowers years in 2017, 2018. It's going to be a fun ride, James.
There we go. Like and subscribe to our podcast as well. You can get the full experience on YouTube, where you can see Carlos's fantastic globe gags. I don't know what else we're going to do. Carlos, you got to fit more.
I'm not a funny comedic guy, James.
You are now. You have become that.
This is real stuff, James. Where is the defense? Someone look, please. I can't find them, James.
Carlos, you need to plan more globe gags for the future. That should be the new RBLR Rowdies thing.
I'm running out of bits. I have like things around my room that I look for. I'm like, what can I say? I'm running low. I have a baby Yoda toy over here. Maybe we can incorporate that somehow next week, James.
I think they should all be globe based. That's just my opinion.
All right. Yeah. All right. Down. Game. Yeah.
So if you would like to see that, check us out on YouTube. If you're disinterested for some stupid reason, you can also listen to us on all of the podcast apps. So we are on Spotify, the iHeartRadio app. We are on Apple and Google Podcasts. We are everywhere. So please, folks, check us out and watch out for the globe. It will be in every podcast here on out. That's what I'm saying.
Yep. Use your virtual reality headset. I don't know how that would work. I'd be really uncomfortable seeing my face that close up. I'm sorry for anyone who tries to do that. James, for another week of content and for another San Marino propaganda week, come on, you Rowdies.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.